Right. So again and again, something has been recurrent, and I'm sure that anyone that's listening to this episode would have an idea that you were really brilliant, sharp, you were a good student. Correct
I
or not?
try. I try.
And then it kind of make me kind of wonder, has Toby ever failed before at anything? If yes, how were you able to undo it? If no, are you afraid of failure?
So no, I've not failed, and I'm scared of failure to the point that it's scaring me. What is scaring me is that, if you listen to all these motivational speakers, they'll be like, oh, that failure is a stepping stone to success. You learn from your failures and all that, blah, blah, blah. There's no way that anybody has not failed, that kind of thing. I think I was listening to somebody, a South African businessman. They're asking him, what he looks out for in entrepreneurs that he wants to mentor and all that. And it's like the first thing he looks out for is somebody that has failed before. That it shows that you're doing something, that there's no way you will do something and you will not have failed at one thing. And I'm looking at myself, Toby, sure you're normal like this. It should be like it. I don't understand myself. So maybe this is what everybody's literally saying, there's no way that you go through life without failing at something. So maybe my own failure is like gathering somewhere and waiting for me. It's like packing into something huge. It will not hit me hard. I don't know. So that's what I'm scared of. I'm like, failure, if you want to come, better come now, because I don't want something that is unbearable to meet me somewhere in the future. So, and I think about it, I've not. Okay, the most popular one, jam, that people write jam 2 times, 3. I only wrote just one jam, only one. I wrote one poem and I got into the damn school. And it was almost easy. I thought maybe that I just happened, but I know that's not it, because I know my sister also had to like stay 1 year. I know friends that stayed several years, and I understand that it is not something that you just say, oh, because you're brilliant, you get it. I used to say it's luck, because I don't have to explain it again. In school, while in uni, carry over missing scripts, you cannot escape it. Really, like I have friends that they had missing script, they had to rewrite the course. We had borrowed courses that were the issues with us in my department. My departmental courses were sweet, but then when you have to offer borrowed courses, most people fail and have carryovers in their borrowed courses. In fact, the guy that ended up being our best graduating student during my set, he had like one carryover or two or something like that. And when he rewrote it, he now passed and his result. But me, I did not fail anything. Like I did not have any course to go write any carryover. I did not have any missing script for any reason. In fact, one course that people were failing and the lecturer was so strict that if you miss one assignment, you're gone. Me, it was not even just assignment I missed. I missed a whole quiz. I was not even in school when the quiz happened. Results came out. I was the only one that had A. I don't know how it happened. People were not like, oh, how did you do it? I said, I don't know. They'll be like, what do you mean you don't know? I say, I really do not know. I do not understand what happened. So, and these things keep shocking me. My last exam, the very last exam I wrote in school, I was very sure I was going to fail that course. And my mind was beating, because I'm like, I've never failed in my life. It's not final year that I want to fail and now have extra year. And it did not help matters. It's final year. So we have done graduation. We have done all this final year party, but result is yet to come out. I'm like, hey, hope it's not after doing party now, I will not come and fail. God, I was so scared. The result came out much later. In fact, no, the result did not come out actually, because it was when we're now applying for NYSC that my name came out. So I knew, I must have cleared my courses for my name to come out for NYSC. Then years later, when I was serving, I think when I was almost done with service, that I applied for my transcript. It was not for my transcript I saw the result of that particular exam I was scared about. I had C. Like, I thought I was literally going to have F. I had C in it. And I was literally convinced that maybe this man dashed me mark. Maybe it was like, this person not going to feel in final. Let me just dash her mark, let her go. So I don't know. I'm still scared that something is going to happen in the future, that it will not be, the failure will not be unbearable, because I don't have experience in failure. maybe the closest thing I would have would be application rejections. Maybe you apply for jobs and you don't get in. But I mean, I think that one is pretty much normal for everybody. But something that is like severe failure, I've not had, and I don't know. I'm scared. Yeah,
I guess like even application is a form of failure. And
yeah.
I'm not really a believer in the fact that you really need to fail big before you succeed anyways. So
Okay.
fingers crossed for when you blow up. Remember this interview, Toby.
You say blow. It doesn't even help that I'm not really an optimistic person. So that's why I'm always thinking of, oh, when is this failure thing finally going to happen? When is something going to go wrong? And you are still going through life, nothing has gone wrong. And I'm like, instead of me to like enjoy the moment, to be like, yes, I've never failed. I'm like, it's not exciting to me. It's actually scary to me that like because I'm like you, something bad is going to happen, so something bad. I'm always thinking about it, and that don't know, just never happens.
I beg, just reset that stuff. But I'm kind of wondering, why on earth did you study geology? I guess like the average Nigerian secondary school student probably do not even know that that course exists. And you
Me
said
too. I
you
did
are
not.
the one that put it
Yeah,
in. How on earth
it's,
did you get to know that course and thought like it's going to be good for me?
it's me that sent myself. Okay, so me talking about like I knew how to be good and all that. I knew how to be a good student. But then there was this particular course I was exceptionally good at. Like you, I was the best math student I knew. Like wake me up from sleep, like I'm sleeping, I did not study, go and write maths exam. I would go write it and like score higher than everybody. Maths came easy to me, very easy. Like I understood the concept. I knew where to apply the rules and like maths was fine, really. So maths was my thing. Like my classmates knew mathematics, Toby, leave it for her, that kind of thing. So, I still have this little proud moment now that even in our secondary school group chat, somebody will come and ask a question, like a mathematics question. People will be like, oh, go and ask Toby. Toby, come online and come and answer. Or, oh, Toby's not online, send it to her DM so that when she comes. So, like, when even till now, your classmates are still like, they know. So, like, I have like this little proud moment. And so, math has always been my thing. And yeah, I loved maths. It was easy. In fact, there was one time, and I was pretty much a little bit disorganized. I don't used to copy notes in school. I don't used to copy notes. So one time, and okay, let's say the notes that were bulky, maybe something like which notes is bulky, home economics and all those notes. But something like math notes, maths had no notes. It was just numbers. So why will your math note not be complete? My math note don't used to be complete, because I hated copying notes. I did not understand the idea behind copying notes. Like in my mind, I'm like, okay, fine. Why are we in school? To come and read book, understand it, write exam and pass, Abi. So if I can maybe understand whatever the teacher is saying and write it in an exam and pass, why do I need to copy this damn note? I don't need it. It's in my head. I don't need to copy this note. I'm that lazy. So, but then we need to submit notes and stuff. So I would go give my notes to junior students to copy for me. So there was this day, we finished writing maths test. Then the math teacher came to class and I'm like, shoot, my math note is not here. Went to start looking for the junior student I gave my note to copy. And whether she forgot the note self. So after like looking everywhere and hostel was locked, we could not go to hostel to bring my notes. So I came back to the math class empty handed, disorganized, no notes. As I came inside the class, they were looking at me. I'm like, what did I do again? What the hell? My classmates were now pointing. So look at her there. Look at her. I'm like, hey, maybe because I left the class, so they were looking for who has that seat and I'm not there. Maybe I'm in trouble. Before and I looked at the message, I was smiling. I'm like, okay, fine, somebody explain what's happening. And I was like, yes, this is the only person that got 30 over 30 in class. Like she got everything, all of you. I'm like, oh, that's I'm like, I beg, as if I did not know before that I was going to get everything. So math has always been my thing. But in SS, when I entered, is it SS2, SS3, I I started getting tired of maths. I realized I did not love maths. I did not actually love it. it came easy. So it was something that was easy for me. It was something I could do. It was something I enjoyed the attention that came from being able to do it like almost effortlessly. But like love for it, I did not love it, I didn't have passion for it. Something that I would not even like put in effort to read it. I'm like, yo, whatever. So yeah, it was good. Maths came easy, but I needed something more. I knew if I was going to study something in school that I had to feel something towards it. I did not feel anything towards maths. I just loved the attention. I just loved that I would score everything and it would make me happy that yes, I'm better than everybody. So I started thinking, okay, I need something that I would love. At a point when I was getting the attention from mathematics, I thought, oh, I would go and study this thing in university. So at a point, I was actually going to study mathematics in university, but at SS3, I had to stop myself. I'm like, you know what, this whole maths thing, we're killing it. So no more studying mathematics in university. So what else? What can we do? So it was at that point I started thinking, what can I study? What course interests me in the littlest way? You know, um, and even me being in science class, I was not passionate about sciences. They were easy. I mean, maths had the numbers. I was good at it. Physics, I mean, a little bit of calculation. Chemistry was bearable, whatever. Biology, I did not like it, but what can we do? So I was just there. Why I did not go for art classes that it had all those long notes, government history. I cannot copy notes. I'm like you, I'm not even doing that. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'm already in the sciences. So what can I do from this place? The main science courses, physics, chemistry, biology. They were just there. So no, mathematics, that would have been my thing. I now told myself I'm not doing it again because what is easy and I did not love it. I'm like, okay, fine. Everything is cancelled. What else do I have? I was left with agric science, geography. What's the other one? I think economics. I mean, I already knew economics was like a commercial course, so no. Agric science, I knew in my heart of hearts is over. I mean, I love my agric teacher, is my favorite person in the world, but it's this course is over, I know. So I was left with geography. I was looking at this course, I was looking at me back. My geography. I did not do so well in geography, but I mean, the course was talking about relatable things. You hear about mountains, rivers, population, human settlements, and all that. So there were things I could relate to. They were interesting. Then my geography teacher was a joker. He would come to class and tell us stories and all that. So I'm like, this geography thing looks like something that is a little bit interesting that I can like put my mind into it and like have passion towards it if I want to. So I now decided that, you know what, I want to find out more things about this geography. So if studying it in the university means finding out more things about it, then why not? So I when filling my jam form, I thought geology is geography. Maybe it's the university name of geography. I don't know. That was exactly what I thought. So I put geology there without even thinking it through. That I just put it there. I swear. I did not ask anybody, no parent, no school counselor, no anybody. I just put it there. Like me doing Toby things that I can handle myself. So I did that. Got the admission, first jam, got everything, entered the entered the course, and I'm like, it's not so different, but I mean, it's not so similar, but I mean, we have put it is that we have put it. Let's just keep on doing it, and that's it.
Right, right. Kind of makes sense. Now, I think the next question would not be why I think I'm now coming to that part of this interview where we talk about my name is Toby. So the question I would like to ask is, when did you begin journaling, and why did you begin journaling? And what points did you get to and you are like, you wanted to make your journal public? I can't think about doing that. I can't imagine myself I've been keeping a diary for many years now, and I can't imagine myself bringing it out to the public. Diaries are meant to be private. So what came over you to be, what did you eat one single night and then you decided to make your journal public? Talk to me about that.
Me and my plenty wahala. Do I need to eat something? Do I need to eat one particular thing? So when did I start journaling? I, okay, before the whole journaling thing, I've always been like deeply introspective. I mean, right from when this whole left hand thing was going on, I've always known that, okay, fine, I'm kind of different from a regular human being, because I mean, why would every other person be right-handed and me from somewhere is using my left hand, And so I've always known that things that would normal people would relate with, I could not relate with it. I had my own different way of doing different things. I mean, look at me bargaining food. I've been doing okay. If I eat half, then my mom will say no, Abi will say yes, so I can drop the food and all that. I was thinking like that when maybe my sister was already thinking, it was still maybe crying for food and stuff. So I knew that there was something different about me. I did not know what it was, but I had to like figure myself out, like, and I had to figure it out differently from the way the regular world operates, because I knew I did not belong to whatever regular world there was. Um, and on top of that, I knew I had issues. I mean, the left-handed one go do, like, it's physical. You can see it's come and right. I'm using my left hand. You flog me, change to right hand. So that was something I knew. But I was also going through something internally. Um, in my mind, I thought I have issues. I have a problem. That was just it. Like me being different and all, and like not being like this very free and open child, doing extracurricular activities in school. Maybe my sister would be doing cultural dance and stuff. They'll be like, "Toby," because I would run away. There was one time I actually faked injury. I was limping for no reason, because I'm like, I cannot do this cultural dance thing. Like, I've not even tried it. Like, the fear of like coming to like do things in the open. I was not like a very free child. So that bothered me a lot. I thought I had issues. I lived with it for a long while, until maybe I think after secondary school, I stumbled into a post that talked about being introverted, and I read about it. And this person talked about quiet power, how introverts are different, but then like they have a way they put the difference into their to their own advantage, and it becomes their own personal power. And I read about it and I see the difference between introversion and shyness, while how being introvert is like not a bad thing, but shyness you can overcome. And also the thing with social anxiety, and how to deal with things like that. So I started figuring out myself. So I think it's at this point I started journaling, trying to journal and figure myself out, go through the day and write about my day. It helps me because I was not expressive. So I felt like writing on my book was going to help me like figure myself out. So I journaled a lot. In fact, one of my journals, I lost it. And I'm scared
Are
that
you kidding?
whoever picks it up, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with the book. I swear, I actually lost the book, and that is one thing you should never lose your journal. So, but then I started another one. But then I knew the person I wanted to be. I knew the person I was writing in journals and stuff. I know at least I've come a long way figuring out that I was introverted and like trying to do things for myself. But I knew that if I wanted to get to where I wanted to be, I still needed to do more. I needed to be more expressive. It was the expression for me. And I think that was why for some time I wanted to say I hated myself, but hate is a strong word. I did not like myself. I did not like the person I was. I wanted to be more, and it was not as if I would look at somebody and say I want to be like this person. No, I look within and I know who I want myself to be. So, and I knew that I had to be expressive. I maybe things I wanted to do in life, like I wanted to help people. So how would you even reach out to the people when like you're not the kind of person that talks to people, that kind of thing? So I needed to like loosen up a little and then know how to like um achieve things I wanted for my life. That was when I knew that what's the whole process? What's the whole aim of writing in a journal? That you write this thing, you don't want somebody to look at it, and then you cover like it's your precious book. Nobody ever looks at it. You're guarding this thing with your life. For what reason, really? So whatever it is, you're scared that if somebody sees this thing, something would happen. So, like this book or whatever stories you're writing inside have power over you. Like there are these things that they shake you. If you're sleeping in the night, you remember, oh, my journal is open. You have to wake up and go close it. Like there's something that is always keeping you on your toes, agitated. And that didn't make sense to me. I'm like, why should stories have power over me? I know stories, and it was at that point I knew that stories had power, but then the power they had should not be like power over me. I should be able to control whatever narrative it is, the story should be able to do something apart from have power over me. It should, like, the power should be to change the world or something. And I knew that, I mean, what is really personal about, I mean, they're personal, but what is really secret about it? Because I noticed we're all going through the same processes in life. When people open up and you're like, oh, this is me, I'm like going through this thing too. But then we think we're in our own little bubble and we think we're the only ones going through the things we're going through until we hear other people's stories and we see that, oh, I mean, it's as if they wrote the same manual for all of us, and like we're following it, just that we're just all into ourselves thinking, oh, it's only me. But then you share it and you see, oh, it's not only you. And maybe it's like there are 10,000 of you, and you guys can like help each other, form this community or support group to help each other grow. When I was figuring myself out as like this whole introvert thing and like somebody that has anxiety a lot, then I would now, it was this Susan Cain person that wrote that book, The Power of an Introvert. She had a blog, and the blog had this community section where fellow introverts to come and tell their story. If somebody will come and write how their day went. And it's like, oh, this is how my day went too. So I mean, somebody will come and talk about how they were scared of this thing, but they overcame it. And you're like, yo, this is me. If this person could overcome it, maybe I can too. Then the funniest one was now having Facebook groups. Somebody, I think one of the groups, introvert problems, one anxiety issues, something like that. And then they share the funniest thing there. So something that is maybe literally a problem, something you're trying to like, a problem you're trying to solve in your life. And you see somebody making memes and jokes about them. And then you laugh at yourself and you laugh at the whole situation and you're like, eh. And then you figure out that it's not that deep. It's not that serious. I mean, I think that I now decided, I have to like share my story. I I started talking about it. I would like talk to people, anybody that cared to listen and all that. The whole idea of like the podcast was, it was birthday. I was doing birthday. I don't know what to do in my birthday. I don't know what to do in my birthday, and it was last year, COVID. We're still not sure if this COVID-19 thing, if it was going away. So I'm like, what can I do that doesn't involve maybe going outside and being social? So I thought, this podcasting may be a good idea. And then what best to talk about than myself? So I just started talking about it. And I mean, it's been fun. I enjoy talking about my stories. I enjoy expressing myself because deep down that is what it is to me, self-expression. And I love that people have been able to benefit. I've had guests on my podcast. They'll be like, oh, I want to be on your podcast because I hear you tell your stories and I want to tell mine too. I'm like, cool, good for you. I mean, and I always, even if like you don't have the courage to like maybe come on the podcast to talk, don't allow stories to have power over you. I mean, what's that maybe you're thinking, oh, nobody should see this thing. I mean, it's fine if you're not comfortable enough, but just know that, or even if like you don't want this, I mean, you don't want to share because it's nobody's business, but then like make sure that your stories are your stories. Tell them and control your own narrative, and not somebody now coming to like change the story and say nasty things about you and they are not true. So you just um when you tell the story, you tell your truth, and then you live your truth, and you live unapologetically. You don't have to explain anything to anybody. I mean, so
Right.
that's that about that.
Right. So I keep a diary, and for me, like my diary is already kind of lengthy, almost like two times a novel or something. And I have a rule like the only people that will ever read that diary are my children and probably my spouse. And maybe it will turn out to become maybe an autobiography without all the details and the rest. But your points are really interesting. But it leads me to my next question. How vulnerable are you? Like, is there something that had happened in the past or something that is currently happening or something that might happen in the future and you are like, no, I'm not going to say this, or I'm not going to say this now? And then the addendum to that question would be that does your parents listen to your podcast? And then secondly, do you think like your close friends listen to your podcast? And do you ever reason and like, oh, this close person, I really do not want him or her to know this part of who I am, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. To start from the first one, are there things that I'm like, oh, I don't want to say this on my podcast? Yes, but I don't want to say it yet. So now, because I say I'm working towards like being the most expressive I can be of myself. So I mean, like there are some things that would happen. I'm like, yo, I'm not comfortable sharing this thing yet. But then I know I have to like work on myself to get to a point where I'm now comfortable with this thing. I'm not comfortable with this aspect of me. I've accepted this thing that happened to me, and then I'm now comfortable enough to share it. So me, when something happens, I'm like, I'm not going to share this thing. It's just a matter of time. It's yet. There's always a yet. I'm not going to share it yet. But once I'm comfortable, once I've dealt with the things I need to deal with internally, I'm like, yo, I'm ready to go. Like everybody can hear it, that kind of thing. So about thinking, oh, some people listen to this, and then I don't want them to hear this aspect of me. That's the whole idea of starting the podcast in the first place, because I don't want it to be like, I don't want maybe anybody or anything to decide for myself what I want to be comfortable with. It's all about me. It's only myself I ask. Once I ask myself that, oh, am I comfortable with this, and I go share it. After sharing it, if maybe that person listens to it and they're not comfortable with it, maybe later I will not talk about it later. But have I shared it? Yes, I have. So my parents, my mom doesn't listen. I don't think so. She's not so much of a social media person. My dad, I would never know. Like I said, maybe growing up where he was this kind of person that kept in, he doesn't talk. So maybe he listens to it, but I will not know. He will not come and ask me. So I know I post like my links on Facebook and stuff, and he's very active on Facebook. And I think once or twice he has liked the post. So I think maybe he must have clicked on the link. I don't know. He did not tell me. Maybe I did not ask him. So maybe he has listened, maybe he has not. It's a 50-50 thing. My mom, I know, maybe I would percentage, I'm 90% sure she has not listened. Maybe that there's a 10% chance she has listened. I don't know. But that is what it is. There are some things I've said that I know if they listen, they're not going to be comfortable listening to it. But sure, I've done it is I've done it. If they now want to like talk to me about it, let them come, let's talk. But if my mom has not listened, good for her. If my dad has listened and he's like, oh, this thing, he does not know how to talk about, or he does not want to like address it. No, I'll like keep doing my thing. So that's the thing. And the things, when I said, I did not even go and say, oh, mommy and daddy, I'm starting podcast. No, I just started my thing, and I've been doing it. If they now feel, oh, let's talk to Toby about this thing, no wahala. I'm not going to like tell them, oh, I'm going to talk about this thing on my podcast. No, I mean, if they listen to it, fine. If they don't, no wahala. It's just it.
Right. Now, before we talk about marriage, which is something that came up again and again in your podcast episode, I listened to many of your episodes. But before we talk about that, you've mentioned something like 2 or 3 times now, and that is social anxiety. And so
Yeah.
it makes me wonder, are you someone I know you've also mentioned that you are kind of introverted. What's that dynamic with you about keeping friends? Do you have friends? Do you socialize? Do you go out? Are you kind of a mix between introvert, but if I want to be extrovert, I can't be extrovert? How is it for you?
So here's the thing. In fact, it was day before yesterday. I was with some people, and I'm talking, and I go something like, "I'm introvert." They say it's a lie. I go, "Oh, because I'm an introvert." They say, "Stop, you're not an introvert." I'm like, "Ha." So if it's me that will say what I am, they say, "No, you're not." I'm like, "No, Wala, let's let's not argue." So now here's the thing. So when people think, oh, introverts are quiet people, yes, they can be. People that do not talk to anybody, they can be. But now another striking attribute about introverts is that um another striking attribute about introverts is that they are good listeners and people love to talk. So now when you're talking and you feel like somebody is listening to you, now you feel that person is your friend. Now introverts are empaths. They know, they feel people's pain. Like they are full of compassion um to receive people when they are feeling whatever it is they're feeling. So when like you're an introvert and you see yourself like checking on people, you're you're reaching out to them and you're like, hey, how you doing? You had a bad day. Come, let me be maybe the come, let me listen to you, or come, let me be the shoulder that you can cry on and all that. And then people see you and they gravitate towards you. They move towards you because they find a friend in you. And for the introvert, it can even be confusing because you don't like people. Like like people can stress you out. You know that even maybe talking too much, you don't like talking and all that. But then you actually care. So like you hate people and love them at the same time. So that's the same way it is. Introverts, people tend to draw to introverts. So I know that maybe people, I have friends, so many friends, and they're the ones that draw to me because they feel, oh, Toby is a nice person, I can be her friend. And it's crazy because in my house I'm the only person that has like maybe brought my friends over to sleep over, and it's strange. My parents will be like, "Yo, they don't nothing again." Like Toby, they know Toby's friends are always coming to sleep over. All my roommates have come to sleep over. My friends, everybody, they come to our house and they visit, and it's fine because I'm like, yo, why not? I'm very receptive. So in that way, I have friends really good friends. And in some ways, I'm also the one that reaches out. I reach out to people when I find something interesting about them. So introverts love deep, meaningful conversations. It's not as if they don't like conversation, but if you're like having small talk, talking about the weather, who cares about the weather? But then if they're like some deep, meaningful conversations, or there are some things that are intriguing, you see it's even the person that is reaching out. So there's some people I've reached out to. I'm like, yo, um, maybe you made this presentation. I love it. I reach out to you. There's one, my new friend I made this week. I saw a flyer. Somebody is running a waste management private company in my area. And it was so amazing because waste is like a big deal. Would have this government aswama, they don't come on time to like dispose the waste. You now see the waste piling up, but then somebody has taken the initiative to like start a company that will do it faster and better. So just flyer, I reached out, I called the company, I called the number on the flyer, and I'm like, hey, what's up? I saw what you're doing, I want to talk. Like, so the person is the one wondering, you are you okay? How do you just reach out to people? But that is just it. So when something interests me, I reach out to people. When people think that maybe I can listen to them or I can give them some sort of comfort, they draw to me. So I have friends, I'm like that introvert. I have plenty of friends. Sometimes it's difficult to keep up. When I cannot not keep up, they're like, we quarreling. But yeah, it happens like that. And was there a second question? I don't think I remember your
No,
second
no, there's
question.
no second question, but the second question will definitely come now. So, what do you now what do you now mean by social anxiety? What does it really mean?
Yeah. Social anxiety. Anxiety basically, is having this feeling of like constant worry, constant aching, constant I think it's better from overthinking. I think a lot. So when you just think that something, like I told you, maybe you're in the middle of a good time, instead of you to be like having you're thinking, oh, what's the worst that can happen? You've not that's like general anxiety about anything. You can just be anxious of anything before a presentation. I mean, that one is normal. Maybe some people get anxious before like presentations, but for like people that have like real anxiety, it even goes from like a feeling to something physical. you see them, they start having like physical tummy pain, tummy bites, or maybe their hands literally are aching, or even chest pain. Like this one is not just some sort of emotional feeling or anything. It's not a physical chest pain because they're literally like being anxious over one thing or the other. Social anxiety is being anxious about maybe um when they say being social, talking to people and maybe meeting people for the first time and all that. So I'm that person. Like I say, it's easier for me to have new friends because it's the people that draw towards me. But if it's to make the first move, Jesus, my anxiety will not let me, especially if it's physical. So the instances I gave you that, oh, I reached out to this person is over the phone. That screen is always there to make it easier. Maybe if it's through WhatsApp, yes, we can always like fake our way through social media and the virtual world. But when it comes to like physical interaction, like my social anxiety is at its peak. For some people, even for the virtual interaction, it like gets worse. They can't even reach out to anybody. And yeah, it is what it is, really. So when people would now see you and be like, don't, she doesn't talk to anybody, she's a snob. I'm like, I'm not snobby. I'm like I just have this fear that I do not know what to expect when reaching out to you. So I just don't go. But if you come to me, just start the conversation. I'll take over. Like, but just start it. Just say hi first. Like, I know every other thing to say, like to keep the conversation going. But to make that first step, my social anxiety is at its peak. Like, I don't know how to do that. Yeah.
Right. Now, there are so many episodes I probably can talk about, but there's one of your podcast episode that kind of stuck with me. I can't take that expression or that phrase away from my mind. And
What
that's
phrase is that?
kissing skin. Like, it's just
Oh my god!
the not
Taste of
even
skin.
yeah, the taste
Taste
of
of
skin.
skin.
Sorry,
Yeah,
it's
that's
not.
it.
It's not even the content per se. Even though the content is very livid, it's just that
Yeah,
phrase. That phrase,
yeah,
taste of skin. I can't get it
yeah,
out of my head. Something I want to ask you about concerning that
yeah,
episode is this. You said when you talked about the first part, which was what you called kiss rape or something,
yeah,
you said
yeah,
something that you were trying to tell yourself it never happened. Was
yeah.
this just a single act, or Toby is someone who tries to bend reality to conform to what she really wants it to be? That's the first part of the question. I don't know why my questions are having so many parts in this episode,
Yeah,
but you just have to just bear with me. Now, the second part of the question is that after that period, aside the fact that you were trying to tell yourself that, oh, it never happened, did it
yeah.
affect you in any way? Like, did you ever see, you did not mention in the episode whether you ever saw the guy. Did you try to explain? Did you try to think of talking to someone? Were you able to still go about your normal daily life on campus? Let's just explore
Yeah.
that story.
Yeah. Yeah, so because now, I mean, like you said, it happened, and I told myself it never happened. So I erased that memory from my head, and I went about my normal life. Went about my freaking normal life, and I'm like doing normal things normal people should do. But I mean, like like you said, it was like erasing a part of you that maybe because you think it's an unpleasant experience, so you want to pretend it never happened, but then it happened, so why deny it? And I think that's why if why I when you ask me, oh, are there some things you would not talk about on this podcast? I'm like, no, it's just a matter of time. But I would still like walk my way. I would try to never be that person that denies any experience. You know, I feel the most, people like stress about self-love a lot, that oh, you have to love yourself at all times, blah 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 and all that. Total self-love is a myth to me. I think the better one is self-acceptance, because you have to accept every part of you. We, like every human being, we have this part of us that is like the sweet part we want people to see. Like the ones who now get writing our journal that we don't want anybody to see is like the part we think, oh, they're the terrible part, they're the ugly part of us. But we've not yet accepted ourselves that every part of you is still you. You know, people say, oh, the real me and the fake me. There's no real you and fake you. You is you. Every part of you is you. So like accepting everything that has happened to you is like a big step in everything. So I've through that experience, I've learned that you accept like the times I love myself, no wahala. The day I'm feeling you, I don't even like myself at this point. Like, what? Well, maybe I'm angry at myself, or or maybe I don't even understand myself. I know that all of them are all parts of me, and I'm living with myself. I accept myself. That is the, will I say, the profound one, something like major that happened. But why I was even able to pull that through to be, do you know what, I'm canceling this experience from my head, is because I think I've even always been doing that. Anything that I do, I don't like, that doesn't portray the Toby that knows how to be a good everything. Maybe the one part where I did something, but I cancel it. I'm like, that never happened in my head. So after that, and maybe the second case happened, I'm like, what's the point? I'm just going to accept everything. I think that's the point where I accepted every part of me. Anything that may have happened in the past, I'm like, this is not the real me. So I might as well deny it as like not me at all. Let me just accept every part of me like that. So yeah, and that is what has helped me to live my truth so far. And I know so far everything I've said on my podcast, I think that my podcast is like a space where I've never told a lie on. I don't think I would ever really tell a lie on my podcast. Like I said, maybe it may not be the whole truth at the point, but later when I'm comfortable telling like that part. It's so funny where maybe somebody will ask me something in real life, I would literally lie to the person in real life, then come on my podcast and say the truth. And it's so weird. And I'm like, I know if this person is listening to my podcast, they'll be like, so this person lied to me initially. But I mean, it is what it is. Creating this space where I'm like, you know what, you're doing this. It's very difficult to tell the truth. That's why I think human beings lie a lot. So having to like put myself in that space, that the most important thing for me is to tell myself the truth, even if I don't tell it to anybody, but to tell it to myself and like never lie to myself. So that's it.
Yeah, so you mentioned something that sometimes you would always tell the truth on the podcast, and maybe you wouldn't say everything at a particular point in time, but you will always tell the truth. And I feel like that second part of
Come back
that
to
podcast episode, you did not complete the story, or it kind of felt like that to me. Because after we got to the end of that episode, I'm like, okay, so what happened to the relationship between you and the guy? Did it end? Was it abrupt? Have you gotten to a place where you want to talk about it right now on this podcast episode?
Dayo, what is it? Yes. So now, why I did not, the truth is, I did not tell, like the way you're asking me now. One of my friends, he finished listening to that episode and he came back to my DM. He's like, this story is not complete. I'm like, I'm going to complete it for you. And when I sent him like his own personal audio, and it was like 1 hour, 1 extra hour apart from like the one I've already like tried to like summarize on the podcast there. His story is plenty. So for that one, I'm like, you know what, I mean, it's too long, really. So I think I want to leave it at that. I still feel it's too long. I beg, let's not go into that now.
Let's take a brief version. Trailer.
So the one with the other guy, I said something like we work together. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. Virtually.
Yeah, that we work together now. Virtually. Yeah, we work together now virtually, and we talk. We've never talked about then, like what happened then. We've never addressed it. So when we found out that we're working together again, we just like started from face work, always discuss work and all that, and never talked about how close we were before, and maybe things that happened, and how I would call it a relationship for lack of a better word. How the relationship just ended without even starting, and not even on a very good note. I think we shall quarrel small. Yeah, we never, both of us never talked about it. And now the thing is, I thought he did not listen. I did not know he listened to my podcast, until there was one time I did something on my WhatsApp status. I was asking questions, and I asked something like, "Oh, have you listened to my podcast?" And people were answering yes, no, yes, no. And then he said yes. I'm like, you listen, I didn't know. But then I was not brave enough to ask him, did you listen to that particular episode? Maybe he did, maybe he did not, but we've never talked about it. So yeah, that is just what it is. I know there are some details, but then I'll have to go and listen to that episode again to now know what details I left out, and the ones maybe I would tell them to you later. But the thing is that, like, they're not top of my head right now to be in this podcast episode. So yeah.
All right, makes sense. Definitely we spent so long,
Yeah.
much time on this episode, so I would not even try to dig worms in that part. I'm going to let it be. But I want to talk before we close this podcast episode. There's also something that is kind of recurrent in your podcast episode. I think I listened to, now the truth is I listened to many episodes. I can't remember the specific title of the episode, but like two different episodes. There was one episode you talked about the fact that at a point you did not feel like you wanted to marry. And then there was another episode that said that, oh, now I'm now considering it. Probably maybe.
Yeah.
Now, my own question, the question that would pop in my head as someone that asks so many questions, I'm sure you must have figured out by now, is that what changed between I really do not want to? In fact, I think the first question would be, where did you come to that point where you're like, I don't think I'm interested? Then the next question would be, what changed that make you now like, oh, maybe I'll consider it? And as that position changed again?
What made me decide, what, this marriage thing I'm not doing was, and the very foolish thing. No, it's not foolish, but it was that I made that decision at 5. I was 5 years old. 5 freaking, this thing, I'm not doing it. To make that kind of decision. And somebody like me that is very opinionated, I'm like, if I say something, I stick with it. So I like stuck with it for like a long while. So what made me decide is that, I mean, what that I saw the way my parents lived. I saw like other families around me. There was nothing extra about the idea of being married, apart from, yes, you had kids, and you had to like make sure your kids eat food, they wear clothes, they go to school, you go to work. And I mean, you could do it. There were basic things anybody could do without like being in that bond of marriage. So what was the thing about marriage itself? There was nothing, really. There was nothing. Anybody could feed anybody, give them clothes, make them go to school. Anybody could go to work and do their work and do anything. So why did two people have to like decide to come together to live in the same house and be doing those things? I did not understand it, that the idea of marriage. It did not make sense to me. I did not feel marriage had a positive, like it had something extra to add to people's lives. If anything, it had things to take away. You'd see people sacrifice things. You would see people sacrifice dreams and other things they wanted to do, or maybe because they have children, they cannot do things. So if anything, marriage takes away from people. At its best, it's just there. Maybe it doesn't take away anything from you, but it doesn't also add to you. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, fine. Let's say the best marriage could give is just there, like nothing extra, like nothing at all. It doesn't take away from you, it doesn't give you. So I mean, why do it? Why settle for just there? So just there didn't make sense to me. So I wasn't having it. I was not going to take just there. So I'm not doing marriage at all. And these thoughts were coming at 5 freaking years old. So I lived with it quite some time. I changed my mind in my final year, first semester. Beginning of final year. So I lived with this thought for like how many years? 18 years at beginning. I don't even know. So what even made me change my thoughts? I was having a discussion with somebody, and now I was now becoming this person. I was becoming more open-minded, more it's open-minded, more free, more open to new things. I was loosening up, I was being more expressive. So, And I was thinking, why am I still holding on to this thing? And I talked to a friend. He's like, yo, why did you even like make this decision in the first place? And why cancel something when you've not tried it? And I'm like, yo, Toby, that's not you. Like, that is exactly not me. Especially when I used to tell myself that I'm adventurous with food, that I eat anything, that I cannot say, oh, I don't eat this food when I've not tried it. So it's when I eat it, I'm like, oh, this thing is not good, then I know I'm not going to take it again. But like I love trying new food. So I'm the adventurer. I'm like the person that doesn't cancel things before trying them or without giving them an opportunity. So why did I have to cancel marriage first before, like, and it's like serious canceling. So like this friend talked to me and he's like, okay, fine, the canceling it. I mean, why should you? Okay, at best, don't close your door like totally towards it. Leave a little window open, still be open to the idea. And that made a lot of sense. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to listen to you. So what I'm going to do is that I'm not going to say this, I'm never doing it again. Never say never. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to be like, okay, fine. You know what? I'm open. If it happens, fine. If it doesn't happen, better for me. But I'm no longer going to be at a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm never doing this thing. So that I'm still there. I'm still really there. And I'm still like, I don't really send this marriage thing, but I did not cancel it before they will say I've canceled something. So let's be looking at the future.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, before I ask that final question, I usually ask every guest. The thing is that there's a possibility for marriage. I guess like the question your listeners.
Yeah, possibility, yes.
Right. So the questions your listeners will want to have answered to is that, are you currently in a relationship?
No, I'm not.
All right. So because then that would now mean that, so any male listeners listening to you have an idea of what they are up to. And if they want to shoot shots, they know how to shoot the shots. That would be the
What are they up to? Are they okay?
No, it's just like logic. I'm just being logical here. So there's a possibility for marriage. You are not currently in a relationship. So it then means that anybody that wants to shoot shots has at least some probability that it can score a goal. Is that correct?
It's not that easy, but they should do their thing. They should do what they like.
All right, makes sense. Last question. What's your, like, if definitely it's your podcast, I hand over the mic to you and I'm like, what do you have for your listeners who have been listening to you for all this while? What do you have to say to them?
I don't know. Do I need to tell them anything? I mean, all these things I've been saying since, they should pick one thing from there and listen. I don't know. They should pick anything they want to pick. The only thing I would just beg them to be listening to this podcast. That's the only thing. My audience, tough love, very tough people. They give me tough time here. Some days they just listen. I just see, people have listened to the podcast. Very amazing reception. Other days I'm like, nobody is listening. I'm like, what is wrong with these people? Maybe sometimes they want me to come and beg them. Sometimes they want. It's fine. We're used to it. It's tough love, so they should do their thing. And everything I've said, they should pick one. Pick one thing and take out of the conversation. Anything you want to pick.
Right. So there are like 1,001 other questions I would love to ask, but it's been a pleasure speaking to you. I kind of enjoy speaking to you and really appreciate you for bringing me on your podcast to talk with you. I do not take it for granted. Thanks a lot.